What up, everybody? It is Forgetting Walls, the podcast. I'm Keith.
I'm Justin.
I'm the other guy.
And the other guy is Andy. He is back for another episode.
Welcome back, Andy.
Thank you.
So let's go ahead and throw out a couple of disclaimers this morning. Number one, there may be noise in the background.
A little bit.
My little dog likes to be silly, so we may hear little squeaky barks and stuff and whatnot in the morning. Also, poor Justin has...
Yeah, I'm a little bit under the weather this podcast, so if I sound terrible, that's because I do. I'm not, like, sick. It's just, like, I get these, like, sinus infections every few months, especially with the weather changing crazy here in Boone. It just, like, it affects me like this, so no worries.
So we're going to do something real quick. So I'm going to let Justin talk about the weather in Boone real quick because me and Andy need to switch headphones.
That'll work.
Okay. So it's, I think last weekend it was somewhere around like 60 degrees and it felt great. You know, we hammocked out in Durham Park. It was great. And then this past week we got as low as... well, in temperature-wise, it's like -10, and then with wind chills around -30 to -50. And as I'm speaking, it's snowing again.
Oh. So. Well, let me just go to say that I can fulfill one of the 10 commandments this morning because I do not covet anything you have at Boone right now. Well, I hate to burst your bubble. It's going to be right at 60 degrees here today. And
you suck.
And tomorrow we're going to look right around 70 degrees.
I hate you.
Hey, go ahead and finish up college. Get back down to the beach.
Just a little bit more to go.
Just a little bit more to go. Well, man, it's a special podcast today because anytime we get to have Andy on with us, it's special. We may become more of a regular thing with Andy and other guests. I won't call them guests. We're just going to call them
supplemental package.
There it is. It's our go-to relief podcaster. That's right. When me and Justin feel like, you know what, we need somebody on with us, and we're going to have a rotation of people. Hopefully, we'll be able to build a bigger panel of people at some point to join us as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But so. I've got something I want to start off with this morning.
All right, go for it.
Let's just go ahead and since we're we love Jesus and everything, we'll be a little spiritual this morning. So
all right.
But Justin, I've been kind of disconnected a little bit with, I guess, just the overall, my life with God and. I've been reading, and all those things that Christians are supposed to do, praying, reading. But, I don't know, there's been one part of my life that I feel like it's been missing. And it's always been identified through music. And this morning, man, I was riding over to get Andy and we're going to go get some breakfast. And, dude, I was listening to Tripoli this morning and something just connected. Let me. Hopefully we won't get in too much trouble for this, but let me open this up a little bit with something.
I'll be weak, but I'm alive from the dust until dawn. Yeah, I'll survive, cause I got sweet victory.
I like the instrumentals behind all that. I mean,
and the whole song, the Sweet Victory song, dude, is just like, it just attacked me right at my heart for some reason this morning. And I know it sounds strange for the guys and gals that are listening that, that are people who are not Christians or they don't identify with our faith. But there was something, and this is the part about, maybe what we'll get into a little bit today, that it's one of those things like where I know we're going to start talking about it some today in our meat and potatoes, but it's the supernatural part. I know we're always battling over natural evidences and things like that when it comes to God and if he's real or not real. But I think this is the part of me that connects with God that I can't explain, this deep spiritual, soulful, supernatural connection that I can't explain. And you can't explain that to people who don't believe the way we believe. And it's not a negative to them. I mean, because I wish I could find some evidence to show them how this supernatural thing works between us.
Right.
But it was this song this morning, and it made me think differently. I mean, listen to this.
Mm.
And it was like, I was driving and I picked up Andy and I was like, man, I was like, you got to hear this. I mean, it's like, and I'm just going to skip to the end because this is the part that just just hit it. Like, it was just like, it just pulled me into another place.
Mm. It's very atmospheric.
Yeah, and it's just hearing the mix between the harmony and the background and hearing her just like belt these lyrics and mixing it with a very, very nice hip hop vibe to it and bringing it all. I mean, he did a wonderful job in this song, and needless to say, if somebody has offense with this of us using his song, it is Trip Lee from Reach Records. All the credit in the world to him. Great guy with Dimitri McDowell and, Leah. I'll have to go back and get the other name for it, and we'll plug it in there. But
I'll have to check it out.
It's
the
just
whole thing.
It's just an awesome song. I think it'll connect us well. It connects those who believe in God. I think it's one of those things that supernaturally affects you, which may sound weird and hokey and mystical to people, but it just does. It just packs a punch right there, dude. So it's crazy. So how's everybody doing this morning? But so we know Justin's a little. We know Justin's.
Well, you can hear how I'm doing.
Yeah. Oh, that sounded wonderful.
Yep. Thanks.
Andy, how are things your way since the last time we've talked to you?
Doing great. Nothing to report adversely, so things are going status quo, I guess, which is good.
Can't complain.
That's
good,
right.
Good. Well, I got a funny story I want to tell, and it's.
All right, go for it.
So,
I love hearing these.
So this week, well, as a matter of fact, yesterday, for us in Brunswick County down here by the beach, it was brutally cold yesterday. So even though I woke up yesterday morning and it was only 16 degrees outside, it felt like 4. Now I know Justin's like, well, it was negative 40 wind chill here. Well, we're not climatized for.
I understand that.
We're not climatized for. But so we get up and it's cold and Andy's riding to work with us and we're dropping him off at work. So that's no big deal. We get there and I'm driving back up this way from where we work at. And and I get a call from my wife saying, hey, the car, the kids are trying to go to school and the car's not working and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, so I get on the phone with my son, my oldest son here at the house, who was the second, whatever. But, and he's saying, well, it's not this. So I walk him through the steps of it and they're kids, so they really don't know much about cars yet. And I haven't really had a chance to really walk through things with Sterling. But here's the funny thing. So I get here and I walk through everything and I'm looking at the hood of the car and there's ice. I mean, there's like ice all over the front of the hood. Yep. And one of the things that my wife and my son was telling me is like it sounds like like the engine's frozen, right? Yeah. Like, that it's not turning over because it's so cold the engine's frozen. And I'm thinking in the back of my mind, that's that's not
Right.
possible.
Right.
But, you know, but from a standpoint when you don't know a lot about engines and cars and stuff, hey, there's a good possibility. So
Yeah.
my youngest daughter's out there with them, and they're all trying to get to school. And I say, son, why has the car got like ice, these big chunks of ice all over it? And I was like, did you pour water on the hood? And he's like, yeah. My youngest daughter said, pour it on there. And I said, why? And, you know, I guess what came across was that she had saw me pour hot water on a windshield once because there was ice on it because the defrost in the car wasn't working. So her mentality was, hey, the engine's frozen, so throw warm water on top of the hood. So the engine will become, you know, we're going to defrost the engine. And I looked at her and I was like, did it not think that even if you did that, you should have opened the hood and put it directly on the engine?
That warm blanket of water.
But just to come out, it was a battery issue. I had to change the battery. You know, the push start engine cars where you got the little electrical push start in it. Takes a lot more juice to get it cranked, and it just wasn't working yesterday. So I had to go out and spend hundreds of dollars on battery for the car. Well, $100 battery. That sucks, you know, when you got to spend like money that you don't think you got to spend.
That's right. The unplanned expense.
Come out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that I don't like. You know, I guess that's just life being a human.
That's right.
Anyways, what else is going on, man? I mean, like, I had a good week. Well, I had a cold week. We're going to continue to talk about cold weeks.
Amen to that. Yep.
I had a pretty good week. I got a job.
Well, yeah, that's right. You got a job, which honestly, you was telling us about the job before we got started today, and I know because me and you had to get together on Friday and talk about some things because our week didn't work out the way we wanted it to, and you're like, well, you know, I got to go out and make deliveries, and I'm thinking, well, where are you working at? And I didn't ask you Friday where you were working at.
Yep.
And I was like, well, if he's making deliveries, is he working for like a pizza delivery place? Because we did talk about delivery pizza last week.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, did he feel so bad for the pizza delivery guys that he actually went and got a job as a pizza delivery guy? And I was like, well, no, he would have said, you know, something about pizzas. And he's like, first cut. Right. And I'm like, what's going on here? And then I was like, okay, so Chinese delivery? Maybe. And then Justin informed me this morning of something totally different I've never heard of in my life. And where do you work at?
So I applied at this place back in October, and I didn't hear anything for a while. So I just like, okay, well, you know, they didn't, you know, I just didn't get a call back for it. And then I got a call on Tuesday from this place saying, hey, would you like to work with us? And they're like, we know you applied a long time ago, but would you still like to work? And I was like, absolutely. And so now I am employee of Appalachia Cookie Company. So basically what I do is I go and deliver cookies to people.
We're going to need some product down here on this end.
We don't deliver that far.
Oh, no. That's terrible, man.
You need to get that fixed.
That's right.
Well, and that was
6-hour drive.
Well, you know, and my thing was there is a market for cookie delivery.
Absolutely. It's a college campus. You know, it's late at night. You know, you want some cookies. You know, we'll deliver. We'll make cookies, freshly baked cookies, deliver them to you, even throw in a half gallon of milk with it.
That's so insane. I'm thinking, do they franchise? Can we get a branch down here at the beach?
I don't know. They just started a few years ago, so you might be able to contact them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm even thinking like tourist season, like on the beaches. Mm-hmm. You know, you promote that. Hey, we deliver cookies. Man, come on. What, I mean, you can't beat that. Like tourist season, you can make all the money you need during the summertime and just close down for the winter.
Absolutely,
I'm down. Franchising it. Let's do it. Franchise up. Come on. Was it Appalachia Cookie Company? Or is it Appalachian?
Yep. No, Appalachian.
Appalachian?
Yep.
Appalachian.
Take it from
That's
a local.
Appalachian, not Appalachian. Right. That is a huge point of contention up here.
Hey, man, I'm at the beach.
That's right. You might as well be in another country.
Well, you need to go ahead and see if
Pretty
we get some promos from them, get some sponsorship off them. Go and say, hey, we'll promote your business, and you can hook us up with, hey, right now we'll take a little money, but if it's only cookies and milk, maybe we can work that out too. I don't have a lot of upfront talk this week. Honestly, it was cold. It was, with the car issue, but everything else this week was just pretty much business.
It's again snowing really hard right now, and it just reminds me of Hogwarts. And actually, I do have something to say. I started reading the Harry Potter series this week.
Okay,
and I'm really happy because so I wasn't allowed to read them when I was little,
right?
And because whole witchcraft and all that stuff, like really conservative side of Christianity, like we weren't allowed to do that.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah, and but I still watched the films in secret until I got old enough in which they didn't care whether my parents didn't care whether I watched it or not. So I've watched all the movies, but I just never got around to reading the books. And so this week I decided I'm going to start reading the books, and so I've been live tweeting my reactions to the book.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, everyone knows. But yeah, it's pretty good so far.
Yeah, I was doing a tweet scroll the other day, and I was like, Justin, Harry Potter. I was like, okay, he must be watching. Nope. He's reading the books.
Yep.
I could tell by the tweets that you had to be reading the books.
Yep.
But it was and I'll say to that too. I was one of those people who looked at my kids and was like, no, you can't read this stuff right now. And we won't get into my reasoning for why they couldn't at the time. But
right.
I feel like, if it's something, you want to do, then, and that's where you want to take it, hey, by all means, read them.
Yeah.
Wasn't there talk there for a while that J.K. Rowling was either a witch or a Wiccan or something along those lines?
Rumors and all that stuff.
Yeah, I had heard that. Yeah.
Well, and I don't know one way or the other.
Not saying she is.
Right.
Certainly not.
Oh, come on now! Everybody knows J.K. Rowling is a witch.
Of course.
How can you come up with something so great if it wasn't spawned through witchcraft?
Just like Led Zeppelin's album.
Oh my gosh! Don't play them backwards.
That's right.
You see how old me and Andy are, where we come from, playing records backwards.
Oh yes.
I wonder if we can do that with CDs. That's the problem. MP3s. I wonder if they can get subliminal messages on MP3s. Can we play those in reverse to find out?
Could you? You could digitally reverse a track.
You can. You absolutely can. I think I have a program that does that. Maybe we'll test that one day.
It's audible. You can actually.
Yeah, you can actually hear it. Yeah, I can do digital scrubbing backwards.
We might try that on a podcast one time.
Yeah,
we got to get.
And I'm sure we'll lose every Christian that we have on.
Oh, absolutely. If not for the content, for the material that we actually use. Because I was going to say we could go back to, Strawberry Fields, the Beatles record. And supposedly it says, Paul is dead. When you play it backwards.
Yeah.
So, never did it.
I used to, and let's go back to my younger days.
Yeah.
I grew up, of course, we all know on the podcast, I grew up in a non-Christian household. So therefore, I had access to every type of music that I want, and I grew up the largest Kiss fan. And yes, Christians, I listened to Kiss, and I would still listen to Kiss, and if Kiss came to a concert near me right now, I would probably go see them.
That was your first concert, right?
That was my first concert, and let's date something. It was 1977.
That's right.
Nice.
But the thing was, of course, I heard a lot of flack coming up, and I think that's, thinking about it, I never thought about it to this point, but I think that was the first time I had a interaction with Christians younger.
Okay.
I don't think it was directly reflected at me, but I saw it in passing articles, and I think maybe somebody said, Kiss is Satan's army. They're devil people.
Knights in Satan's service.
The downfall of our youth.
Yeah, what I always heard was knights in Satan's service or kids in Satan's service, and I'm like, is it satanic? Because I don't know, what is this satanic thing? And I was like, but anyways, but I did, everybody, because you would hear something on TV. If you play the records backwards, you hear this. So what did I do? I grabbed every Black Sabbath album my dad had, every Meatloaf album, every Molly Hatchet album, every Kiss album. And I was in my room playing it backwards. I was like, I don't hear it. Yeah. I just don't hear it. And then I started listening. I was like, but I can make up a lot of words from what I'm hearing playing it backwards because it's just backward words.
That's what it is. That's
yeah. And but the
a lot about nothing.
And I think the height of it was late 80s. A movie called Trick or Treat came out.
Okay. Yep.
And the basis of it was a horror movie. And the basis of the movie that they played a certain record by this dead rock star, and there was an incantation in the playing the records backwards that brought back his vengeful spirit, so to speak, and he went around murdering everybody. Lord knows our podcast is off to a start, baby. Woo!
That's right.
We're talking about some really dark things, aren't we? I'm telling you, we're going to push all the Christians out the door. But no. But realistically, yeah, I did as a kid. That's what we did. We wanted to. I mean, it was basically proving people wrong because. Obviously, I played all those records backwards, and today I stand here a lover of Jesus and a follower of Him, and obviously playing all those records backwards didn't take me to hell.
Because you listen to it with innocent ears, man. It's like I'm a huge Van Halen fan. Gosh, I have been since day one, and. I mean, I wasn't partaking in their lifestyle. I was just listening to their music, and I loved it, And to me, it was just, I don't know, put me in a good mood.
It was good music.
Enjoyed listening to it. That's right.
Yeah,
because come on,
music.
Come on now. I want, if any Christians out there, I just want you to go back and check out. Go to YouTube and search just the worst worship songs, and watch what comes up. And this is the stuff that Christians were trying to provide to people in that day. Their music was horrible.
Right.
Yeah. It was. I'm just sorry. I mean, we talked about, Lord, every time Andy gets on the podcast, we're talking about music.
And I was listening. I tried to get into it like I spoke with you a while ago, 15 years ago maybe, something like that. And there was just nothing comparable to what I was listening to myself that was obviously what we call secular music, but popular music,
Right.
There was nothing that satisfied, the message was there, but it wasn't enjoyable to listen to. In other words.
Right.
Come on, say it. Nothing satisfied the beast inside you like a little Van Halen.
Heck no, man, that's right. That's right.
Well, and that's what, I think my point, so we don't get too sidetracked from what we want to do today, but I think I do think there is music out there that provides a horrible message. There's some music out there that's just extremely vulgar, and if that's your cup of tea, then dude, listen to it all day long. But there's just some stuff I don't listen to. But if it's good music, I want to listen to it. I want to hear it, at least to hear the musical content of it. But
anyways, how it's composed and all that stuff.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's bands out there, their message is not great, but oh my gosh,
their talent
is beyond belief.
Denial. That's right. It's just there. And you know what? I think you know what? Maybe for some younger people, it's more of a slippery slope, but when you're mature enough to separate maybe a negative message from the music itself, it's, it's easier. It's not, I'm not buying into some of the lyrical content. Like you said, I'm going there for the music. I want to hear the guitars and the solos and the drums and whatever.
Well, and I think also that's what the church tried to profit off of, because they realized they couldn't grab anybody with the lyrics. Like, they were seeing how lyrics really didn't. So they really got involved into the beats and the riffs, and these rock and roll riffs are of Satan, and and these hip hop beats are of Satan. And I'm thinking, dude, really?
This all the way back to Elvis.
Yeah, I mean, and then here comes Elvis singing a gospel song.
Yeah.
And yet they're going to jump on his bandwagon because he sung. We said this, I think we're revisiting our last podcast with Andy so much. Yeah. But it's true. I mean, it is. We could talk about music all day long. But anyways, the point is that Christians playing records backwards does not make you a spawn of hell.
No.
Which that's anti-biblical anyways. Anyways, let's just go ahead and dive into the meat and potatoes. How about
let's do
that. Let's just go ahead and get into the part where everybody's going to be sitting here going,
Bueller. Bueller.
Anybody?
You know what? That's going to be my goal this week, to watch Ferris Bueller again. I love that movie so much.
It's such a good movie.
When he's coming down the street in Chicago on that parade, Donka Shane.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, Donk. I'm like, yes.
That was good. Yeah.
The movie overall just it spurred my interest into being just absolutely nuts as a kid in high school. I was like, I want to do that during high school. And honestly, to tell you the truth, I probably shouldn't have watched the movie till after high school because it ruined me.
Didn't they say in the movie everyone wanted to be Ferris?
Yeah, it was like
he was cool.
I wanted to have the computer. I just wanted to have all that stuff. That's what got me into. Maybe I shouldn't say this, but that's what got me into my interest of doing like computer hacking and things like that. And I was like,
just as a hobby.
Yeah, just as a hobby. I don't want to do anything illegal. I'm not a hacker.
Not professional.
No. I'm not. Matter of fact, let me just say this: I'm not smart enough to be a hacker. I am way too ignorant for those things. But anyways, it was a great movie. But yeah. So anyways, speaking about all the fun stuff, as we have probably, like I said, deterred all our Christian friends from listening to us up to this point. I hope they're still with us because I think today's meat and potatoes section for us will be. I think it's a two-sided discussion. It will. Hopefully, it will penetrate the ears and minds of our friends and those people who are not in the faith of Christianity with us. And I hope it penetrates the hearts of all Christians that are listening today, because I really want to open the discussion to talk about maybe the arrogance of Christians and their stances, and it's not to be mean spirited about it, but I think there's a level where we get so dug into things that we believe are true that we're not open to discussion. And that's what hurts our, Christianese word, that's what hurts our witness to those who aren't like faith, who aren't Christians, or people who aren't Christians with us.
Yeah, that we get so entrenched in our own opinions and our own ideologies and our own things that, honestly, some things that even don't have to do with what we believe, that we can't even really see the other side.
Exactly. I think, and this spurs, and I'm going to give a little free advertising to a couple of other podcasts.
Go for it.
Yeah, but this topic for us was spurred when I was listening to the Reformed Pubcast this week. They had Pastor Joey Svensson on from Bad Christian. Yep. And let's just put it like this. The theologies, or the doctrinal theologies, between the guys over at Bad Christian and the guys over at the Reformed Podcast, or the Reformed Pubcast, are, I don't want to say night and day, but they might as well be night and
They're
day.
Pretty different.
Yeah, they're very, very different, especially when it comes to the Reformed side of theology.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking towards Calvinism.
Yep.
So the discussion that they were having, and this wasn't the overall topic of discussion. It was just one part of the interaction between them. But the part was where I think the Reformed Pubcast guys were talking about, and they were on the Bad Christian podcast as well at one point. But they were talking about that their theology, the Reformed theology, and the Calvinistic point of view that they come from. Mm-hmm. Their description of it was what they said was this: the way we think, the way we believe, the theology that we have, we feel is the best way to explain the gospel. It has the most credible, viable explanation for what we see the gospel is. So the way we believe is the best way to explain the gospel.
Right.
And of course, the guys on the other side was, well, doesn't that put you off as very arrogant? Like, you're saying that this is your stance and this is how everybody else should basically see it. You know, you're providing this Calvinism, Reformed theology point of view, and you're not basically saying it's not open for discussion. And I think I think the guys at the Reformed Pubcast are not as to arrogant to the point where they're saying they're not open to discussion. But I think Joey was saying more along the lines like, are you so stuck in that theology that you're shutting yourself out from the question that I could be wrong?
Right. So
that's the point. I think that question, could I be wrong, is what I want to talk about today. I want us to open up. Honestly, I don't care where it goes. I don't care what points we cover on it. I just kind of want to put it out there this morning. I've kind of realized after side note, Justin, I feel like I may be more the host.
Oh, that's fine.
I do all the talking, dude. One day I'm going to come in and duct tape my mouth and let Justin have at it.
Yeah. I'll let you have it today because my voice is gone.
No,
so.
I feel sorry for my pitiful podcast co-host.
Oh.
But the question, could I be wrong? I think Christians are scared of that. And me and Andy Andy had a long talk Thursday night about it. We've talked about it. Me and you, okay. I talked a lot about it yesterday as you listened.
Pretty much.
But I feel like you understand my points.
Absolutely.
We're all kind of coming from this. We're not actually all coming from the same point of view, I would say, but we all come together to understand there is an issue here among the church that has this mentality that, yes, we believe Jesus is the only way. That's how we believe. Right. That's our faith. That's what's entrenched in our faith. But the problem is can you step out of that for a moment and analyze when somebody brings you a explanation, a reason, a contradiction, something that doesn't add up to what you believe?
Yeah.
Could you ask yourself the question, could I be wrong? Can I step back from this thing that I believe in and analyze it and dig into it and ask the questions that may be hard to ask?
Right.
Yeah.
It's not easy to separate yourself from your faith when you believe so strongly, but I think for the purpose of discussion and when you're trying to understand someone else's point of view on something, you do the best you can with it. You know what I mean? Because I know what you're trying to say is there has to be an engagement. Mm-hmm. It's not a one-way thing. This is it. End of story. Yeah. You're trying to understand where other folks are coming from who don't have the same faith in maybe anything. I mean, just themselves or whatever it may be, And I want to go ahead and throw out a couple of terms. They're normal terms. Everybody's heard these words. But I kind of want to lay them out and define them because I'm going to use these terms a lot through our discussion today. So I'm going to throw out the term natural. Natural means things that happen inside this realm of physical nature between human beings, things that we can invoke through ourselves, things that we can do with our own hands, we can see, we can touch, we can explain, we can perform science on, we can experiment and test to get results. That's very natural things. And the other word, which is totally opposite, is supernatural. Things that can't be explained, things that happen outside the realm of the natural. And because we're Christians, we believe in both. We believe in the supernatural, things that happen because God does it. It's His will, His force that enacts those things, which I know a lot of people who do not believe in God and does not think that there is a God will say, okay, you're losing me. That's not real. I can't listen to that. But I just want people to hang in there with us so they'll understand where we here at Forgetting Walls come from, where we as Christians in Forgetting Walls, where we come from, so they can understand basically how we believe in stuff, but so they can understand where we're going with it. So, and also for Christians to understand the same thing, that there's two very different things. And when I say natural, I'm not talking about the Christianese word, the world or the flesh. I'm talking about natural, like things that happen in the world that are not good nor bad. It's just things we have out here that we can actually reach out and touch and show with evidence.
Yep.
So that's the two words that I'm going to use a lot because I think that'll help us. And I think it'll help Christians more than anybody else understand how we should be living in this world. And as the Bible says, but not of this world. And I know that may just throw a lot of our non-Christian or our friends who are not Christian off a little bit, but it's something biblical there that I had to throw out there for our Christian friends.
And it's from, like you were saying, it's from the spiritual side of things,
right?
That we can function, like there's the physical, tangible things here that we go through every day in life. Everyone does. Mm-hmm. But it's like you were talking about with the song that we played at the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
When your heart has been changed by Jesus, we'll talk as Christians for a minute here. When you listen to a song like that, it goes beyond just hearing the song. Mm-hmm. It touches you inside. It just on a different level.
Right.
It's not just music. There's something to it that hits your heart,
Well, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think people who aren't Christians, people who don't believe in Jesus and God, music touches them the same way. It touches somewhere deep in their soul. There's this, I think that gosh, I can't remember when I was talking about it, but we talked about, I think everybody has a side of spirituality. There's a spiritual nature to every human being, whether they're atheist and believe in no spiritual side, or they're Hindu and have a very spiritual connection. There is a spiritual place in everybody,
in all of us, right?
And it grabs them, and it's just that part to where you recognize how that supernatural, because that's supernatural. Mm-hmm. That's something you can't explain with science. And I know there's going to be scientists who say, well, there's this part of your brain that does this, and then your DNA, and I don't know. I'm just throwing crap out there, but there's going to be people who try to explain how music affects your soul in science, but there's no real explanation for it. There's no test that can show me that. So I'm thinking, there's one thing that's like, if music grabs you like that, then there's got to be something there.
Yeah.
That affects you.
Yeah, something beyond logic.
Yeah.
Like you can explain it. It's just, hey, it's a feeling inside, It takes you somewhere maybe you didn't expect to go, but emotionally maybe it takes you there. It's a spiritual thing as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
But anyway, so now let's come all the way back to the question now that we dove into this natural and supernatural. So can I be wrong? All right, so
that's pretty much my major.
The floor is yours.
Yeah, as a religious studies major here, I feel like that's what I do every day.
Yeah.
Is I look at different religions and look at systems of belief and look at individual cases and how people believe and why they believe them, and whether the biological functions of these things, the sociological functions, the psychological functions of all these different things that we do, these rituals and beliefs that we have. And I come out of class almost every day just being like, what the hell do I even believe? Mm-hmm. And and I remember it's been a process, because I remember when I first came into college, like, if you go back and read my blog, like, I had this idea that I had to defend God, and I had to be this like great warrior for Christ, that all that cheesy crap. But I ended up, like, my first semester, a lot of my papers turned out to be like apologetics papers, essentially, and which, I mean, weren't bad, but they weren't getting at the point of what I was supposed to be doing.
Right.
And so it took a process through it. Probably in my second semester is when I started getting more and more, like, kind of looking at different systems and kind of pulling myself out of my own faith in a way, which sounds weird, but kind of pulling myself away from my own convictions and analyzing, like, stepping back and analyzing, could I be wrong? What are these things that I believe, and what are these things that other people believe, and kind of comparing them and kind of like looking at them in different ways. So I feel like that's just what I do as a major is, am I wrong? Probably.
Right. Well, and that's the point that I was getting at is, can you step away from everything that you believe just to act? I mean, I'm not saying, hey, you are wrong, but can you step away and ask the question, can I be wrong?
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about in the case of, let's say someone makes a compelling argument against what you believe in.
Yep.
I mean, we've all probably been there. You do stop for a minute and you say, I never considered it that way before, and and then you kind of try to examine yourself and why you do believe in what you believe.
Yeah.
I think we all go through those episodes, It's probably, it's healthy. I think, I think the supernatural things that happen in life really go more to help me deal with my faith than any argument I could have with anyone. Yeah. Because I know the things that have happened to me that I cannot explain.
Exactly.
And I know they come from God.
Right. And that's the other, that's where I kind of want to start with.
Okay.
Maybe for our friends who aren't of the Christian faith. And I'm gonna be more specific. I'm trying to come to the point where I'm looking at people across the board as people and not trying to label them, non-Christian, unbeliever, or even, I know they're putting labels on themselves like I'm an atheist, I'm an agnostic, I'm a Mormon, I'm a Buddhist. And I know we put those labels on so we can identify with other people. And right. I want to be very clear that I don't want to label people just so that we know them as a label, but that they are people. Right. But more specifically to our friends who may be, who have an atheistic point of view, an agnostic point of view, especially those two areas, or those people who don't identify with atheists or agnostics, but just don't believe in God, period. They just don't have a label for themselves. Right. The thing where we come into debates and areas like that, I feel very comfortable with, somebody having a debate with me, somebody having, and me being able to dig into my faith to ask the questions. But here's what I tell people. You can't change the way I believe through a natural argument. I'm not that type of person. It's like when I remember if a Mormon would come to the house and, hey, can I tell you about, and I'm like, yeah, you can tell me all you want, but you can't change what I believe. I don't care how much you talk to me and how convincing your arguments are, because natural things cannot change the supernatural experience that I had. And I know people who don't believe in supernatural things can't understand that. Right. But that is the one thing, because here's what I'll tell somebody who's atheist or agnostic or anybody. Right. There are a lot of things in the Bible that I have issues with. It's not that I don't believe them. I just have lots of issues. And then there's all these other things that I'm looking at, and I'm like, this is very hard to understand. This is very hard to believe at times. Yeah. These things are tough. And if I was looking at it from a very natural point of view, then I'm going at the end of the day from what I believe in natural things to step away from it. Right. But it was the very thing that was not natural that caused me to have this faith. And I know that's so hard to explain to somebody who doesn't understand. But that's why arguments, like we were talking a couple weeks ago with Jack, the apologetics that uses evidential circumstances, or circumstances that through evidence, like they got all these evidences. If I come into those looking at that evidence with a God-centered point of view or worldview, then I'm
have a presupposition that God exists.
Yeah, I'm going to start with, okay, there is a God. But when an atheist comes into it, like we said, he comes into it with a presupposition that there's is no God. Right. So you can't change somebody's stance on what they believe based off arguments that are natural, because they're going to take those arguments or those evidences that are natural and put them to their perspectives or presuppositions of where they stand.
Right.
So, and that's what I'm saying. So, what are we afraid of? Now, I'm like I said, we're going to throw curveballs at Christians all day long, because honestly, even though we think we need to change the world, it's not our job to change the world.
Yeah.
It's our job to show the world how we are changed.
How we were changed, exactly. And that there is a better way, and it's offered to anyone who wants to take part in it.
Yeah. And that's not something that okay, hold on, Justin. Andy, I've got the greatest evangelistic approach, strategy, tagline, and I'm going to walk into front of somebody who doesn't know God, and I'm going to throw it at them, and guess what? I'm changing them. It just doesn't.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, it doesn't happen. That's why I'm talking about there's this very supernatural experience that has to happen.
Right. Yes.
You know, you can't walk up to somebody and say, I've got the line. Hey, fellow, I see you standing out here in front of the bar, and, you know, you can't find hope and love and grace and mercy inside that bar, but I can introduce you to my friend Jesus who can. I mean, how does that come across to somebody? Now, I'm not saying it's not true from our belief.
Yeah.
But somebody who has no perspective of God, who doesn't believe in a God, that's not going to convince them.
Right.
Now, but here's where I'll throw it in. Okay, here's the mystical, hokey stuff that a lot of people don't believe in.
I love this stuff.
I do too. This is what drives me. But if God provides the supernatural experience for that to work, it's going to work. That line may work. That presenting that message to them may work. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
But here's my point. It's not us who provides the change.
It's kind of like we don't win. In other words, there's nothing for us to gain personally from this.
Exactly.
It's not like there's a notch on your belt because you've converted someone. This is offering a better way that we know of, that we have experienced.
Yeah. That's
what it is. There's no contest here.
So, throwing this curveball to our Christian friends, why can't you just say, I may not... Well, number one, we know you don't know it all. I don't know it all. Justin doesn't know it all. Andy doesn't know it all. Guess what? John Piper doesn't know it all. Andy Stanley doesn't know it all. Billy Graham doesn't know it all. Nobody at Liberty University knows it all.
Amen.
Watch your mouth, son. But nobody has their finger on the pulse of God and saying, I've got a direct line and I know exactly everything. There's no human being on the face of this planet that can go, I've got it 100% without a doubt. I've got it. It just doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way.
And if you come into these arguments with the arrogance, and then this is where I'll say, like, the people who debate, and let me throw out two that just happened, Bill Nye and Ken Ham.
Oh, great.
Just perfect. I think, now, I'm not saying, now, both of those dudes are smart. I mean, way smarter than I am. Got all the credentials, know science, they know all those things. But do you think they go into those arguments, those debates, with the mentality that we are 100% right with what we're saying, that there's no way that you can say something that we're going to question what we believe because that's how arrogant and prideful we are? Do you think they go into that like that?
I think so.
And I believe that. I just believe it from the way, of course, if you can follow Bill Nye or Answers in Genesis and see, for me, I just feel everything, and whether I believe with Bill Nye, whether I believe with Ken Ham or Answers in Genesis.
I don't believe with either of them.
No, absolutely not. There's a lot of things I have discrepancies with. I'm not saying they don't both give a lot of truth in what they say, but I believe there's for me, there's an air of arrogance there hey, Justin, you can't shake my faith.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean you can't present truth to me that I may find something that I do believe is wrong naturally, but you can't change my stance that God is God.
Yeah.
But doctrinal things I could probably change on because I'm always going to be asking myself questions. Is this true? Is this right? I'm always searching for truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But when a Christian stops searching for truth because they believe, if they're at the point in their life where they believe this is the truth and it can't be any more, there can't be any less, or it can't be different than what I'm believing, then I think they're wrong. They're honestly, they're not searching for God fully.
Yeah.
I think we should be consistently seeking the truth until the day we die.
Yeah.
Paul says it best, for now we see in part, but there's going to be a day when we're face to face and we're going to see clearly. Right. And that's 1 Corinthians 13 if you want to check it out. But there's going to be this day when we know for real. We'll absolutely know the truth.
Yeah.
And hey, guess what, Christians? There may be a day come when we're all dead in the ground and there is no afterlife. I'm not saying I believe that, but I can be man enough and humble enough to say I could be wrong because we just don't know.
We don't know. We live by faith.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
And that's the thing that I think atheists have the biggest issue with us, is that when we say, they give us all these, like, why can't you believe what we're saying? Why can't you believe what we're saying? We're giving you all the evidence and all the evidence. And that's when I'm going, but that's the thing.
Right.
I believe differently, because even though you've given me some natural evidence, the way I see that evidence is from my perspective.
Right.
Because
Absolutely,
it's through a filter of that supernatural, it does exist.
Well, let me ask you this question. Andy brought up a good point the other night when we were talking.
Yeah, go for it.
And I think I'll let Andy flesh it out. But he was talking about when I was like, I'm very analytical in my faith. I dig deep into what, because if I have a doubt, I'm digging to the core of that doubt. And Andy was saying something about, maybe you can clarify it, but talking about, can you question or analyze yourself out of your faith? I don't know if I put it correctly. I may have...
I think you do naturally, like you say, when you're looking for the truth, when you're constantly looking for the truth. It's not like you're taking your faith for granted. We have a basis by which we believe. Mm-hmm. And, I think some people function on different levels. Maybe it's just the way of your makeup as a person. For me, I don't need to be that analytical. I only have to go so deep is what I'm trying to say, because for me, I just have had, a natural sense that God is always with me. I don't really, there are things that I doubt, because doubt lives inside all of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I just function from a place where God is always here. He's always with me. He's been with me, as far as I've known, and what I'm trying to say is I don't need to be presented a wealth of evidence to, it's just there for me.
But what you were saying, I think, well, let me re-ask the question. Do you think the reason people don't ask that question, could I be wrong? People don't dig deeper into their faith or deeper into the doctrinal things that come up.
Right.
Because they're afraid that they might find something that will cause them not to have faith? Do you think it's
do you maybe think
that it's a fear?
I think it's natural, to think that way. And it's not like I've never doubted. I have. Because we don't know. Absolutely, from physical evidence, tangible things. Mm-hmm. Hey, I've doubted. I've had my moments where I go, good God, I hope everything that I believe is true. Otherwise, what's the point to all of this? But...
Well, and that's, I don't know, maybe, Justin, you can add to it too, but...
Yeah.
I always say that I can't. You're not going to cause me to lose my faith,
right?
In God and what I believe as a Christian believer. Now, no matter what evidence you give me, no matter how deep I dig in things, because of the supernatural experience, do you think those who are fearful that their doubt may pull them away from God is the fact that they can't recognize the supernatural experience that they either may not have had or may had, and they can't recognize that that's what roots them in their faith and not something natural?
I wrote about it in my blog a little bit, how, there's this fear, even that I had, that, if I dug too much into the faith, if I, started analyzing other faiths or, weighing different evidence or different... systems of belief and stuff like that, then somehow, I might, or if I start pursuing the truth, then I might lose my faith as a result, which I think is misguided.
Yeah. But don't you think that it's as we're trying to, okay, Christians, we need to go out and reach the world for Jesus. And that's a great thing. And that's a call that we believe as Christians we're supposed to do. We need to tell people or show people this Jesus that we believe in so dearly, that we follow, right? But what about Christians? What about, let's not use the word Christian. What about people who are going to these churches, who have this belief that they have a belief in God, they have this faith, so to speak, but yet they're very wavering. They're not committed to it fully. They don't have that real change of life. You know, those people who are sitting there, don't you think we owe it to them as well to say, look, there is a supernatural change in your life. That's what causes, and this is what I believe, like with Ken Ham, with Dr. Ken Ham.
Yeah.
I think with him, he is very confident. He's a smart man, a scientist, but his convictions,
quote unquote.
Well, yeah, but to the point that I believe he is a scientist. I mean, I'm sure he's testing things and stuff. I don't know the man from Adam, but well, make sure it's not on Adam. I know, but anyways, but just using him, that let's agree that he is a smart guy. He's got,
for the sake of the argument, okay,
yeah, and let's maybe not use the word smart, but he has intelligence. Okay. And he makes good arguments against those who make arguments against him. He's a great debater, whatever you want to say. But do you think that he is that way because his conviction through his supernatural experience is so great that even though I believe there may be an air of arrogance there, maybe his supernatural experience, like mine, gives him, it brings him to a place that you can't shake my faith in what I believe is what I believe? I'm just going to throw that out there.
Yeah, I don't think it's so much that. I think more so it's this intellectual commitment to an ideological construct of, and this, again, throwing out a lot of terms, but I think it's this sort of commitment towards this idea of like biblical literalism.
Yeah.
Like that it has to be this way or else the faith is dead.
Yeah.
Like this interpretation has to be the only interpretation or else everything else is wrong.
Great.
And I think that's more what fuels that perspective.
All right, good. I'm glad you went there with that because that's my next question was.
Why, thank you, Keith.
Oh, it was excellent, Justin.
Well done.
You can read my mind. See, that's supernatural.
Telekinesis, it's real, guys.
Woo. That's right.
But that's what I was going to say.
Telepathy. Shit.
Now, and I threw the first scenario out because I want to pinpoint that as well. But the other side of it is, do you think guys like Ken Ham or other pastors stand so dug in on those things because they're trying not to have their organization fail or find falter in those things? You know what I'm saying? Like Answers in Genesis, it's all about creationism and young earth and all these things, which, hey, I jump on board with some of those things the way I believe. Now, this things I believe.
I do not.
Yeah, exactly. And don't get me wrong, I do find evidences that point me away from not creation. I do believe in creationism. I believe in God created this. But to hold to every ideological fact that they try to prove through Answers in Genesis, I may not hold to through evidences I see in science. But like churches and Answers in Genesis, and I'll throw it out to atheist organizations too. The reason they stand so firm in those things because they may feel that if one thing in my armor is chinked, then the whole
thing unravels.
The whole thing comes falling down.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely.
And that's the thing I want to dismiss from people. I just say, like, look, man, you're a human being. Yep. Here's my thing. At the end of the day, you believe what you believe, right?
Yep.
Justin believes, okay, God is real and he is a Christian through Jesus Christ. So, okay, at the end of the day, does that change?
Nope.
Out of all the things that you hear?
Nope.
Okay, we talked to Jack, and I'm using Jack a lot, so we need to get Jack back on the show a little more regularly because I just like.
All right, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm using Jack a lot here. But Jack believes, and where he stands in his belief, that there is no God. Now, through most days, do you think at the end of the day what he believes changes?
Probably not.
Nope. Okay.
No.
Right.
He's rooted in his belief.
Right. Now, I remember him saying that, and I asked him a question, to be very pointed in that question. I said, hey, what would change your mind? Like, what would cause you to stop believing that there is no God and believe there is a God? And he's like, well, a very convincing argument or this. And he even said a supernatural experience. Now, I'm not saying that Jack is wrong, and either of his choices there, but I believe the only way that Jack would change, and this is from my belief, only if God intervened in that moment and caused that supernatural experience for his mind to change or his heart to change in that instance.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that if I, Keith, who is the dumbest person on earth, went to Jack and Jack's the smartest person on earth, that I could give a convincing argument to Jack naturally that would change his mind. I just don't see that happening. But this is the point I want to bring also to this discussion, is that maybe my interaction with Jack, not being arrogant, not trying to prove something naturally, but to prove it to him, here we go, supernaturally. And how does that work? Just being a human being. Because I think being a human being to another human being is so anti-natural in this world that that's what changes people's hearts.
Amen. I agree 100%.
I'm not saying that Jack, before he dies, will believe in Christ. I don't know that. But I do know that from this moment forward that I've met him, I want to be a friend of his. I want to conversate with him. I hope one day we get to hang out, or he's in this area where we can have coffee and lunch and breakfast, and he can come to my house and we can share stories and things like that. And I can show him a love that that he might not have seen from other Christians, maybe outside of Justin, because I know y'all hang out. But but to do the thing that God calls us to do most, and that's to love.
Absolutely. Yep. That's revolutionary. It was with Jesus. That's how the world will be changed, if it's going to be. Everything has to be done through love. I mean, an open heart.
So bringing it back to our main point, Christians, can you ask yourself the question, can you be wrong? But hey, let's do it the other side. Atheists, could you ask yourself the question, can you be wrong? Agnostics, Mormons, Buddhists, Muslims, and I know I might be stepping in deep doo-doo here, but can you ask yourself the question, could I be wrong? Could everything I believe be wrong? And you know what? I can ask myself that question, and I think it's okay to ask that question.
Yeah.
I'm not. Here's what I know. You hear this, and I hate to call Christian lines cheesy, but they do become cheesy after a point.
Yep.
You hear Christians talk about, don't tell God how big your storm is. Tell your storm
how big your God is.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, I hear Christians say that all the time, right? But how much do they believe that God is that big?
You'll only know when you're going through the storm. That is really it, because it's when your faith is tested.
But what about this? If you say, okay, well, God's that big, do you think your God's big enough to overcome the doubts and the questions and the things that you come along through natural evidence that test the very nature of your faith? If you say that you believe that, can you be humble enough to understand that you could be wrong, and that if he is that big in your faith, that he'll bring you through that?
Yes.
Hey, I went through something not that long ago, because it's something that I'm dealing with, and I ended up having a seizure last September, and that was kind of another milestone in the condition that I have, and it was very frightening. And all along, I've asked for healing. I've prayed to God for healing, and I trust that in His time it'll be done, and this is all for a purpose. But there was a moment after I had the seizure where I went into a depression, and it lasted the better part of probably 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And listen, there were definitely moments of doubt in there.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure where I stood, as far as what God was doing for me.
Right.
I'll just put it that way. And I had to struggle with those things, but in the end, I had, my fallback position, thank God, is that trust in Him. And I can't remain there because, He won't let me. I can't function. I'm no good to him. I'm no good to myself. I'm no good to my family if I remain in that place.
Right.
And I think it's the faith that he's given me, and the fact that throughout the years of my life, I've come to realize how much God loves me, what Christ did for me at the cross. And I know this is a lot of Christianese, but it's absolutely true. It is absolutely 100% true. And hey, that's what got me off the couch. That's what got me out of bed.
Yeah.
And I can't explain it. I honestly can't, because if it was of my own choice, I may still be there.
Yeah.
But it's real.
Yeah.
Well, I think I really want to add to that there, because, and that goes back to the whole supernatural natural thing. Andy is experiencing something natural, something that's affecting his physical nature. And like he said, he talked about the seizure. There's natural things. Now, through all these natural things, and you see these things happening, but there's this supernatural experiences that he had that causes him to overcome those natural things, right?
Yeah.
Why do we find it so necessary that, okay, I understand from a Christian's point of view, I understand from the perspective and presupposition of a Christian that what we believe, because of the love that we believe that God has showed us, that we believe in this God, that we want everybody to know it. Now, Christians who are doing it out of hate because they just want to be right, I'd like to strike them from the record. I just like to take them and remind me of the point I'm making right now, but I got to make a side note. I heard, I was reading in the book I'm reading, Philip Yancey's Vanishing Grace. He talks about a pastor in North Carolina, where we're at, who said, we need to round up all the lesbians and queers and put them in this concentration, put a big fence around them, airdrop food to them, because they'll eventually all die out because they don't reproduce. And I said, that is the most asinine thing I have ever heard in my life. But he was making a point. When you are trying to do something out of hate and bigotry, you're not following Jesus.
Yeah.
Because there's no hope or change or want for a person to know the love we know. So let's take all those people. I'm on the vice versa. Well, let's just take all those people who think like that and round them up in a fence. Because I don't believe, if you believe if you have not an atheist, but if you have an evolution standpoint, hey, the survival of the fittest, and those aren't very fit to be as a human because of their no love for people. Maybe God will handle them on his own. I could say the same thing. Doesn't that sound very hateful to say? That if I said that about them, they won't want people to say that about them. Yeah. That's not loving others like you love yourself. That's just being, maybe we have to put an explicit lyric content on this, but that's just being a dick.
You know what? It's getting caught up in the world. It's getting caught up. It's a political issue. It's a hot political issue. There's social ramifications, and people want to come at it from that part.
Yeah.
And believe me, there was a point in my life where I was into political things too much, and it started to influence some of the ways that I thought, and I had to step back. And you can get caught up in that.
Yes.
That's just real world stuff. And
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get all fired up, but to get off the side point.
It's fine.
Yeah, you know what? It's valid though, because I think for everyone, there's times in their lives when they struggle with those things.
Yeah, and I believe that everybody comes through certain areas of their life too that they believe so strongly about something they miss the reality behind. And this is point to Christians: we miss the reality behind the love that God wants us to have for other people. Right, and literally, all right. So, and you got to forgive me if I'm wrong, but I'm trying to remember something somebody told me once, that in the Old Testament, I think it was, one time in the Old Testament, God says, love your neighbors. But in 29 other times, he talks about loving your enemies.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. Mm-hmm. So, but we put all this important about loving other Christians, but we don't, and I'm not calling other people my enemies. What I'm saying is I'm referring to Christians who look at other people outside the faith as their enemies. I believe everybody's my neighbor. I believe the only people my enemies are people who actually try to harm me or my family or my loved ones. That's an enemy of mine.
Right, absolutely.
But I don't even want to have them, but I know I have them.
Yeah, you don't want to, but you can't be ignorant of the fact that they're out there.
But I want to see everybody as my neighbor. But going to the point, okay, so we all believe differently, right? And let's just say at the end of the day, let's take a chance and say at the end of the day, Justin and Andy, that there is no God, right? And no matter what we believe, that the truth is, and this is hypothetical, this is not real, so Christians, don't get your panties in a bunch, all right? I'm sorry.
I'm glad you said that.
Don't get all twisted because I'm saying this. Just hypothetically, let's just say at the end of the day, there's no God, right? That we all die, we get stuck in the ground, and we decay. There's no afterlife, there's no soul, there's no spirit. Now, asterisks, parentheses, I don't believe that, but...
Right.
So let's just say that.
Right.
Okay, atheist, you're right. Everything you said, evolution, Big Bang, everything that you believe, everything that you have always said to us Christians, you're right. Why does it matter that we believe the way we believe? Does it change the fact that the truth is going to eventually be found in the end? That whatever absolute truth is at the end of the day, it doesn't change. That truth doesn't change because I believe the way I believe, right? And it doesn't change the fact that if I believe the way I believe, and I'm supposed to love you who are not like me, and the reason I love you is because I want you to know the hope. And this is the kicker for me as a Christian. I want other people to know the hope and the grace that I believe in and I feel, and the mercy that I believe that is given to me. I believe all those things. I just want other people to know that love, right? If we all had that idea, and I'm talking to Christians too, if we all had that mentality where we believed all that and we just wanted other people to know that, not because we want it to be right, or we had to prove our point that the earth is 6,000 or 10,000 years old instead of 13 billion years old, or that God created the earth, or that Big Bang created the earth, or whatever created. If we could get rid of all that crap and just boil down to the fact that we want to love other people like ourselves and show them the love that we believe God showed us, that doesn't change the end of the day truth. All that does is bring us closer together as people. So what if we all live our life with the point of view and perspective and presupposition that we all want to know this God, that if at the end of the day is not real, but yet he brings the belief in him, brings this attitude of loving one another. Not only loving one another, but we love our planet. We love our animals. Everything we do goes to benefit who we are as human beings and get away from what man has trashed and thrown away. How does that hurt anything?
Right. And I think, the argument against that, or against kind of from the atheistic perspective, is that, the reason why they want people not to hold on to these religions and stuff, and is because they've seen so many negative things associated with these religions. Right. And they've seen so many negative things, and the Crusades, and they, you throw out all these different, things that Christians have done, and people of all religions, have done. Right. Under the banner of religion, to harm others. And so they're like, if we can get rid of that, then maybe we can see each other as human beings. And so I think where you're coming from is if we understand doctrine correctly, and if we or interpret it, through this lens, or as what we believe is correct, then we can all come together in love.
Right. And that's the thing. I think, and that's what I'm saying. I don't think that the point that, okay, if Christianity is the exact thing that is true, now we flip the tables. Yeah. At the end of the day, if we can all say, just for this moment, that God is real and Jesus is the only way, if we take a long look at Jesus and what he did, I understand the Old Testament, and I understand the things that people have against the Old Testament and God and the wars and all those things. But if you'll have to sift through that to see what the love really looks like. But if you just go to Jesus, just go to Jesus and look at what he did and how he acted and who he was against, or not against, but who he really came after with love, and who he came after with sternness and direction with sometimes anger.
Yeah.
Is exactly the side he would take. The side, I think that you remember last week we read the church sign.
Yeah.
God favors a kind atheist over a hateful Christian, or something to that nature.
Yeah.
That's who I think Jesus would be sitting with, would be the atheists who are trying to love, and the agnostics who don't know but are looking, not with these hateful bigotry Christians who are running around spewing hateful words and calling people names and labels that doesn't make any sense. That's what I think Jesus would be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if we provide that lens for other people to see, Christianity is not the religion that that birthed the Crusades. Christianity is not really the religion that birthed the Dark Ages. This is not what Jesus had meant for his church, no matter what man will say. Yeah, it pisses me off. It pisses me off extremely that I'm having to fight thousands of years of religion that man has put in place.
That man has put in place. That's what it is.
And see, that's the thing. That's why I believe that the reason we have issues is not because of God, but because of man's struggle for power and status and greed.
Right.
Yep.
I remember somebody sometimes says, man at his core is inherently good.
Ooh, no.
That's such BS.
Yeah.
I'm a prime example. If man was inherently good, I wouldn't need a faith in God to be good.
That's right. And the world would not be in the situation that it is presently and always has been.
Yeah, I believe the only reason I am not the most evil person on the planet is because of my faith in God. And people can question me all day long if they want.
But you know it's real.
Oh, I absolutely know it's real.
That's the bottom line. Yep.
Me and you were talking this morning at breakfast. How the evil thoughts that can pass through my mind.
Oh, absolutely. Anyone's mind, it doesn't matter. I mean, that's where the human mind seems to want to go most of the time.
Okay, Justin, you made the point where atheists say, well, it's because of all the negative things that they've seen develop from religion.
Exactly.
What if that's one of the things that we're absolutely trying to do right now, right here? Right now, right here. Forgetting walls. We're going to stand on the position that we're not here to formulate a new religion, by no means. Matter of fact, religion, the only time I use the word religion in a positive way is when you look in the book of James.
Yeah.
And if you want me to quote it for all you who don't understand, in James, he says that the only pure and undefiled religion and I'm paraphrasing, that is recognized by God is the one that takes care of the orphans and the widows and keeps yourself unstained from the evil things of the world. Meaning like murder and rape and all those things that, whether you're atheist or not, you believe that it's wrong through a moral compass that you somehow have in your body or your soul or spirit or mind or whatever it is, right?
Right.
Right.
So when I refer to religion outside of James, I refer to it as in a negative sense. And I don't care what Reformed, Armenian, Calvinist, Baptist, Pentecostal say, well, religion is needed. Not in those senses that we destroy the world and we destroy each other as human beings and break down the very commandment of loving one another like ourselves.
Religion is polluted.
Yeah.
I think that what has happened, because as Christians, we believe at the end of the day that we're supposed to look like Jesus.
Yeah. But the problem is nobody knows what that actually looks like.
Well, we know where to go to get the information.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know if it's interpretation or, like you say, it's man wanting to infuse his will with God's and somehow shape something that was never meant to be.
Yeah.
Well,
because I believe that you talked about religion is a polluted thing. It's polluted.
Yeah.
It's polluted because of man. And I believe because I believe from what I believe that man is polluted because of our inherent evil that we have, because we have the nature for evil, that because of the greed and because of those things, we look at, like Christians look at Jesus most of the time, and instead of seeing him for who he really is, we try to create our own Jesus so that we can live to that status, because we all know that we can't live up to who Jesus really is. If we believe Jesus was this guy in the Bible and he did what he did and he acted the way he acted, we can't live up to those expectations.
That we want to set our own standards. it's easier for us to attain that than it is, because honestly, none of us want to be moved out of that comfortable place that we may be in, you know? Or,
yeah. And I think that's why I said, why can't we just understand that, or all right, if we realize that we can be wrong and we don't have all the answers, that will put us in a place where I think Christians, now everybody who's not a Christian, all our friends who are not Christians who may be listening, this really doesn't apply to them, but it applies to people who are Christians. If we can say, okay, we don't have it all together, we don't know all the answers, we could be wrong in things, that should put us in a place where we rest more upon the God that we believe is Jesus than anything else.
Right.
And that should set us into a place where we can spend time with those who aren't like us in our faith and just look at them as we look at us.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm fired up. Preacher's coming out at me today.
Come on.
No worries.
Raise them up.
It's just, I am sick and tired of having to fight a battle that I didn't start.
Yeah.
You know, I'm defending myself against actions that aren't mine.
Right.
Now, I do believe I have caused and I have said things. I have said some pretty stupid things as a Christian. Let me stop for a second. Let me do this. I pray that we have a whole bunch of people who aren't Christians listening to our podcast, this one.
Yes.
And I'm going to say this out of the sincerity of my heart to everybody, in Christians in general. I am going to apologize for everything that I have ever done, what I would say in the name of Jesus, that has hurt, offended, belittled, anything. I'm apologizing with sincerity. Yeah. Because I believe as a Christian, I have done very ignorant and stupid things out of the traditions and doctrines that I have learned falsely.
Yeah.
And not saying that I didn't learn them with good intents or with good intentions, or that they weren't taught with good intentions. I just believe that they weren't true at the heart of what Jesus really wanted us to know. So on my behalf, I apologize. Yeah. Because the only way we can start real conversations with those who don't believe the way we believe, or who see us in a negative light, is first starting out with the fact that I need you to forgive me first.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I would say this, I would do it on the behalf of every Christian on earth if I could. Yep. If they could stand behind me and say, I agree. But there's going to be a lot of Christians who goes, I have nothing to apologize for.
Well, you know, it's hard to be honest with yourself, I guess, if that's your take. In order to move forward, I think you have to be honest. Otherwise, the discussion's not even worth having.
Yeah. Because I do believe that in modern Christianity, we are reeling from the backlashes of the Crusades. Yeah. We are we're reeling from the backlashes of what happened with the way the Catholic Church martyred people.
The Inquisition, everything.
I mean, there's so many things that happened, and we're trying to make up for that today because man thought they knew more than God. And get me, Christians thought they knew more than God. Not just man in general.
Yeah.
Because I'm not throwing any blame on people who don't believe in God, because what are they doing that they're not supposed to be doing? What are they doing that they're not living the life they believe in? The problem for me is that Christians don't live the life that we believe in.
Yeah.
So maybe that's where we're starting. We're starting with us.
Right.
How can our position at forgetting walls ever move forward as Christians if we don't first start and say, okay, there's something wrong with me?
Right. At an individual level.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And here I go. I'm going to use Jack again. I'm using Jack again. Can I call him Jackie? He may throw a punch at me for that one. Good old Jackie. But I go with Jack again. He's one of the first people I have ever spoken to personally who had the very stance that God's not real. There is no God. Who said, man, I'm open. I'm open to all the possibilities.
Yeah.
That said, that provided me the attitude of humility.
Yeah.
That I'm not so arrogant to believe that I can't be wrong.
Yeah.
Do you know what that's like to meet somebody like that?
Refreshing.
Yeah. And I'm so and I want Christians. If you didn't listen, go back to episode 7.
7.
Yeah.
Yep.
And listen to Jack. And I want you to hear, and forgive me, Jack, the thirst that he has for truth. I think that's important.
I think that's the core. I really do.
So, wow. I'm sorry. I've just been like all over it. Hey, let's wrap this up. Let's wrap this up because I don't want to. I mean, we could make this podcast 2 hours.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially with me. Forgive me, guys. I'm a pastor preacher at heart. That's just my nature.
And I'm a counselor, listener, scholar at heart. So,
and I'm just a supplemental package. So,
I'll make my final point. I'll do that.
Okay. All right.
So, from everything we discussed today, I just want to say this. Okay. We need, as human beings, no matter what you believe, we need to have the ability to be humble enough to ask the question, could I be wrong? And I think at the end of the day, no matter what it is, I believe nobody absolutely knows what the absolute truth at the end of the day will be. We have thoughts, we have ideas. We even try to convince ourselves with evidence through nature, and we try to convince ourselves through the supernatural things that happen. Now, like I said, that's what usually shapes people. But if we can come to a place where we can stop worrying about the past, and I'm not saying forget it, but stop putting so much emphasis on the past, what's happened in the past, and move forward, and to try to come to a place where we love one another and say, I understand what you believe. And I respect you for what you believe. I do want to share what I believe because I'm so convinced by it. But I'm not so arrogant that I can't listen to your way, listen to what you got, and then at least at the end of the day question what I believe, just to the point where I can make sure I'm not being over prideful.
Right.
That I may be missing something. Whether you're speaking from a Christian to Christian, a Christian to someone who's not a Christian, no matter how you look at it. Because what I believe is, and then we've said this, can't we all get along? Probably not. But if we don't start somewhere, we'll never find an end point.
Yeah.
So let's just try to come together and be humble enough to ask the question, can I be wrong?
Yep. That's a good starting point. Yeah. And being able to be open in conversation and being relationships with people who do believe differently is, can I be wrong? Yes. All right, cool. So let's start talking.
Yeah. And that's, and ladies and gentlemen, that's who we are at Forgetting Walls. We just want to start the conversation. No, I take that back. The conversation's been started.
Yeah.
All right. Now let's start getting together. Let's start seeing real change. Let's erase this isolation, this gap between us and them, between sacred and secular, between church and non-church, between Christians and non-Christians, between human beings.
Yeah.
Let's erase those things. Let's be real about life. I mean, we don't get along, but that doesn't mean we can't start the change. And I understand. I get me. The things that I believe about the Bible and about things that are supposed to happen and what this, that, and the other doesn't erase the fact that we can't go out there and give it a real honest effort to love one another.
Yeah.
Tear down the walls. Open it up.
So we're gonna do a little promotional advertising for Forgetting Walls here, guys and girls. We just want you to share your story with us. We don't care if you're atheist, agnostic, Christian, whatever it is. We don't care who you label yourself as. We just care that you're a human being. We want to hear your story. We want to know the struggles that you've had. We want you to go to our website over at Forgetting Walls. We want you to click on the link that says share your story. Share it with us. we want you to go to Twitter. We want you to go to our Facebook page. If you go to our website and you want to comment on this episode, go over to our website to the podcast section. Find episode 9. It's episode 9 this week.
Episode 9.
Sweet. Yep. And comment there. Hey, you can even call us at 641-715-3900, extension 254 075. I think I just got that whole thing memorized.
Nice.
Go over there and leave us a voicemail, man. We would love to hear from you. Look, we would love to be huge and everybody be hearing us. But that's not really our goal here. We just want to start somewhere. We want to see the world come together and change. And if we can spark that, that's cool.
Yep.
But if we do something for you to spark it, that's even better.
You can help us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so share it.
If you like what you heard today, anything, if you found it interesting, tell a friend.
Yeah.
Invite someone to listen with you next week, maybe. Whatever. I think it helps all of us, honestly.
And go, and the big thing, and I know this sounds cheesy, but a little more promotional time before we get into our fun stuff. Go over to iTunes if you listen to us on iTunes and give us a review and rating. I mean, it helps us because I believe in what we're doing. I know Justin believes in it. I know Andy believes in it. And man, we need your help because we can't do it on our own. Mm-hmm. This is the building phase. Man, help us help you. Help me help you. Help me help you. Yes, Jerry Maguire just came out in me. Woo!
It helps us too.
So, Justin.
Yeah.
Do you know what time it is?
What time is it?
It is
my style.
It's time for Forgotten Fables, resurrecting the movies out of the B-list graveyard. Yeah. Oh, we got a treat for you today. So, Christians, if you have any hesitancy to watch movies that are not like PG and G rated, you might want to fast forward for the next few minutes. But
basically, if you go to Liberty, fast forward this part.
Yeah, because this movie's probably not allowed at Liberty. It's a classic. It's one of my favorites. It's actually one of my most favorite parody movies of all time. Let me give you a little taste. Yes, that's right. We are the Spaceballs.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Good old Mel Brooks film.
Oh, my gosh. I just have to say, okay, if you follow the podcast at all, you absolutely know that we are by far the greatest. Okay, I am one of the greatest Star Wars fans ever.
Yeah, I'm with you there, probably.
These aren't the droids you're looking for.
And for all you who don't understand the movie that we're actually talking about, yeah, you got it. We love Star Wars.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
But with this movie by Mel Brooks, Spaceballs, I hate to throw it in the list of like categories for B movies, but you know, it is what it is. It's not the most non-vulgar movie, but dude, it is so funny. I really love Spaceballs. I mean, come on, the parody they do with like Lone Star being like all matched up as like Han Solo and Luke Skywalker. Oh, that was just great. And then, come on, Barf. John Candy. Oh, my gosh. Just such an excellent actor, dude. Oh, look.
Yep.
Barf? Barf! What? I mean, what is that? Princess Vespa. And come on. Rick Moranis as Dark Helmet.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Pizza the Hut.
Oh my gosh, it was just...
You have the ring. And I see your Schwartz is as big as mine.
So you've probably heard that soundbite before on the podcast.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's what we're referring to.
Yeah, Spaceballs. If you haven't heard, Dark Helmet. The movie is nothing but like one big pun all the way through anyways.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got Mel Brooks playing He plays so many different characters all the time, but
he does.
You know, with President Scroob and Yogurt and it's just a classic. And then you got what is it? Michael Williams? Was it Michael Williams from Police Academy? Was that his name?
Oh, who did all the
sounds? Michael Winslow. That's right. Michael Winslow. I'm sorry. Forgive me, Michael Winslow. But Michael Winslow with the sounds, the bleeps and the tweeps, and he knows it. I love it. And the puns like, forgive me. Comb the desert, and they're like out there combing, and then the dude's got the pick, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you talking about like, I mean, you know, if you know Mel Brooks movies, you know there's History of the World Part 1 and 2, and there's Blazing Saddles, and there's just all these movies, and if you've seen them, Mel Brooks' mind is twisted, but it's just so funny. Ludicrous speed. What is ludicrous? We just passed them. How do you go back in time? And then the whole, breaking the third wall with the videotape,
or like the fourth wall.
The fourth wall, breaking the fourth wall with the videotape, like.
Yep.
We're at the point of this movie that we're at the, it's just the thing.
Fast forward to the part where he.
I was like, where is it? It's so good. And the storyline, of course, follows kind of like the storyline of, it just plays to so many different things with Star Wars. And then having the, at the end, they landed on the planet in the apes, Planet of the Apes, the 60s version, they come out. What is that coming out of the nose?
Yeah.
Oh no, it's Spaceballs. Hell, there goes the planet.
Yeah.
It's just how everything plays together, how he meshed everything together. And then, of course, my favorite line from the movie is,
"So, at last we meet for the first time for the last time."
You just don't come up with those lines, and
it's genius.
Yeah, it's just it's the comedy level, and that's great. And I know there's a lot of Christians who don't appreciate comedy of that level, and you know what? Get over it. It's you can say, well, it's evil and it's coarse and crude joking, and I'm like, yeah, you may believe that way, but gosh, it was just funny. So funny.
It's just silliness.
Come on. You're out there. And maybe this takes a serious point in our forgetting fables or our forgotten fables section, but you know what? If you're going to beat somebody over the head about a sin that they're having, you might need to beat yourself over your head for the sins that you have. Let's just get real. Preach to them. Come on now. As my favorite NFL analyst, Chris Carter, says, come on, man. Spaceballs is awesome. It's just good, not clean fun.
It's just a fun movie to watch at least once.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen Spaceballs, and it's a parental advisory, don't let the little kids watch. They don't need to be watching it. It's an adult movie, so let adults watch it. Someone once told me, well, if your kids can't watch it, you shouldn't be watching it. And I'm like, you're full of crap too, right? Because there's a lot of things you do that your kids shouldn't be seeing, and you're doing it anyways, right?
And say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right? And say. I think that goes back to our meat and potato section, though. I think there's a large population of Christians who are trying to portray a life that they can't live. Yeah, they're trying to be way too perfect, and that's just not happening.
Yep.
But Spaceballs, come on. But the only problem is that it was so satirical that I did. Not that I have issues with Spaceballs, but it was so satirical because you miss good stuff like,
will somebody get this big walking carpet out of my way?
You just can't, lines like that from Star Wars is classic, baby. Classic. But oh my gosh, man. Spaceballs, what can I say?
It is what it is.
So, Forgotten Fables. It is our favorite time to do the thing we love the most when we sit down and just try to resurrect those B movies.
My style.
This time for Forgotten. I've really got to fix the exit part, don't I?
That was Forgotten
Fables. I'm like, I'm trying to be slick with our
great production level.
Yeah, we exceed the podcast production value. Superseded. Oh gosh, this is so bad.
We mess up so you don't have to.
There you go. Well, Justin,
yeah.
Anything else anything else for this week?
No, I think I'm good.
No,
sorry I didn't talk as much.
No, Obama is the Antichrist.
How much time do we have left?
Oh no,
we're like an hour and 40 in.
All right, I might save that one then, because I don't know.
We're not political.
No, it's not. It's just a joke. People don't get bent out of shape if you like Obama or don't like him. Okay, if you like Obama, don't get bent out of shape. I do not believe Obama is the Antichrist. And Christians, calm down.
That's right.
Well, not all Christians, but you conservative, Republican, white Christians, calm down. Don't think I'm siding with you because Obama is not the Antichrist.
Nope.
Don't believe it. Don't think so. So sorry. I just want to say this. Andy's a trooper, man. Andy is a trooper. Before we end, Andy's a trooper because I've been over here with the most hellacious burps all morning, and they are foul. And he hasn't said a single word because I know they stink because I smell them like, oh. I had a Greek omelet this morning.
Oh no!
Yeah,
that's what that was.
Yeah, that was. I had and with coffee. So Greek omelet and coffee this morning for breakfast.
And Texas Pete. No. I'm
Tabasco.
Sorry. Tabasco. Right,
we get the real hot stuff.
That's the good stuff. That's right.
I'm glad smell hasn't been invented through television, through Wi-Fi yet. I dread the day when that happens.
Oh my gosh, when they get what was it back in the day? Was it Nickelodeon that invented Smell-O-Vision?
Smell-O-Vision, yeah.
Smell-O-Vision. Yeah. They had like the little scratch and sniff stickers, and you would get it from like a store or whatever, and then it'd come up. I remember like an episode of SpongeBob, and like there was this like really nasty thing, and it's like scratch off like number 4, and you smell it. It's like, oh, this is terrible.
That's great.
Oh, I love it. Well, I guess we'll close the show today. That's all. Hey, everybody. Like we said before, go visit us at the website, Twitter, Facebook. You know all the handles. Hit us up on the message line. And signing off.
That's you, Justin.
Oh, that's me.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I'm doing it in reverse today.
In 3,
oh, okay.
2, 1.
I'm Justin. Then.
Peace. I'm Andy.
And I'm Keith, telling you, people are not projects. They're people just like you and me. So love them like you love yourself. And guys and girls, we'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Forgetting Walls podcast. If you're subscribing to us on iTunes, leave us a rating to help us spread the word about this podcast. Remember, the only way this works is if you share your story. So be sure to visit the website and leave us a comment at forgettingwalls.com, or find us on Twitter at forgettingwalls and facebook.com/forgettingwalls.
Peace!
I find your lack of faith disturbing.